All right. I will call to order the Common Council meeting on April 27th, 2021 at 7:33. First up is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Roll call, please.
Alder Allen.
Present.
Alder Radafrada. Here. Alder Gerhardt.
Here.
Alder Herbst.
Present.
Alder Maldonado.
Here.
Mayor Richardson. Here. Alder Strassman.
Here.
Alder Udell.
Here.
Alder Wheeler.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. We've got a number of proclamations tonight. First is the municipal clerk's one. I see some of our wonderful clerks here. Come on up. If anyone on council wants to be in the photo, you're welcome to come up as well. Or you don't want to be in the background, so hide if you're in the background. All right. Come on, it's got to be balanced. All right. So it is Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs and professional organizations. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Aaron Richardson, Mayor, along with the Fitchburg City Council, do hereby recognize the week of May 2 through 8, 2021 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal and deputy clerk, along with clerk department staff, and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Proclaim this 27th day of April, 2021. Thank you very much, everyone. If you've come into City Hall, you see these wonderful people up front, and they're extremely helpful. We couldn't do anything as a city without them. Then, Tracy, do you want to say a little bit? Come on, this is your big chance.
I just want to thank this wonderful team for everything that they do for the city. Last year was a very difficult year, not only with the presidential election and with COVID, and this team really stepped up and they went above and beyond. They go above and beyond every day, and I'm very honored to work with them. So, thank you.
All right, you need a. All right, thank you. Next up is Economic Development Week. Joyce, Mike. Joyce, quit hiding back there. All right. We're recognizing May 3 through 7th, 2021 as Economic Development Week. Whereas the International Economic Development Council is the largest professional economic development organization dedicated to serving economic developers. And whereas the International Economic Development Council provides leadership and excellence in economic development for communities, members, and partners through conferences, training courses, advisory services and research, in-depth publications, public policy advocacy, and initiatives such as the Accredited Economic Development Organization Program and the Certified Economic Developer designation. And whereas economic developers promote economic well-being and quality of life for their communities by creating, retaining, and expanding jobs that facilitate growth, enhance wealth, and provide a stable tax base. And whereas economic developers stimulate and incubate entrepreneurism in order to help establish the next generation of new businesses, which is the hallmark of the American economy. And whereas economic developers are engaged in a wide variety of settings, including rural and urban, local, state, provincial, and federal governments, public-private partnerships, chambers of commerce, universities, and a variety of other institutions. And whereas economic developers attract and retain high-quality jobs, develop vibrant communities, and improve the quality of life in their regions. And whereas economic developers work in the city of Fitchburg within the state of Wisconsin. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Aaron Richardson, and members of the Fitchburg City Council, do hereby recognize May 3 through 7th, 2021, as National Economic Development Week in the city of Fitchburg, and remind individuals of the importance of this community celebration, which supports expanding career opportunities and improving quality of life. I know here in Fitchburg, we're extremely lucky to have both Joyce and Mike on the team. They do a fantastic job, which you see in the growth of our community. If you talk to anyone in the business community here in Fitchburg, they have nothing but great things to say about both of these people. So we're very fortunate. Mike, do you want to say something?
I would just like to thank the City Council, all the city departments, and especially Joyce for all her efforts in the Economic Development Department. This last year was a tale of two economies. We had a record year in 2019. In 2020, we still ended up with about $150 million in building permit construction activity, and that's a credit to all of our businesses, the entrepreneurs in our community, all city departments, and again, the City Council for helping to make those projects happen here in the city of Fitchburg. So we're fortunate with our diverse industry base, and that helps us to kind of ride through the good times and the bad and kind of have a steady growing economy and a solid economy for our residents and our businesses. So thank you.
Joyce?
I guess I would just like to thank the members of CETA. They've been extremely supportive of the work that we do along with the City Council. We're blessed to have a really good housing advisory committee that's working on workforce housing, which is something that we need here in the city. So the support that we receive from the business community is second to none. So we thank you for always being there when we call out for something. And once again, I'm the brains in our department. This is the face, the one that you see out in the public. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ned? All right. Now the real star of the night. Next is recognizing National Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day. All right. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls is National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the City of Fitchburg play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the City of Fitchburg, the City of Fitchburg also desires to honor the valor, service, and dedication of its own law enforcement officers. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of the police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the police department of the City of Fitchburg has grown to be a professional and progressive law enforcement agency that unceasingly provides a vital public service. Now, therefore, I, Aaron Richardson, Mayor of the City of Fitchburg, along with the Fitchburg City Council, do hereby call upon all citizens of Fitchburg and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 9 through 15, 2021, as Police Week in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in so doing, have established for themselves an enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Further, I encourage citizens of the City of Fitchburg to observe May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. Proclaim this 27th day of April, 2021. Again, thank you all for all you do for our residents. We're very fortunate to have such a wonderful police department here, and I couldn't be more appreciative. I know you guys do a great job for everyone here in the community. Thank you. I don't know, Ned or someone want to speak?
I was going to say a few things here, but everyone can just admire Drago for a few more minutes. We've worked for a while on that one, so thanks, John. On behalf of the police department team, we just want to say thank you for the recognition and support. It truly is a privilege and an honor to serve the community and to have you as our partners in making this a better and more peaceful place for everybody. So thank you for your support. And while we appreciate the recognition, we also wanted to note that Peace Officers Memorial Day is more than about us. It's about the 23,000 plus law enforcement officers whose names are on the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C., and over the last couple hundred years have given their lives in service to their communities. So we appreciate the recognition of that as well. Thank you.
Hopefully they're not too mad at me for promoting their police chief to a new position in the city. All right, do you want to come up? All right, then finally, we're recognizing April 30th, 2021 as the official Fitchburg Arbor Day and Earth Day celebration. Whereas, in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day called Arbor Day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas each year on the last Friday in April, people throughout Wisconsin and across the country celebrate Arbor Day by paying special attention to the wonderful treasure that trees represent, and by dedicating themselves to the continued health of our urban and rural forests. And whereas every tree planted, nurtured, or maintained by past generations and enjoyed by citizens today bears witness to the foresight of our predecessors, men and women who were inspired by the notion of a future blessed with trees. And whereas in December of 1998, Fitchburg City Council acknowledged the importance of trees by resolving to develop a community tree management program with the goal of achieving Tree City USA status, and planned for grants to help plant and maintain trees in the city. And whereas trees can reduce runoff, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, calm traffic, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, beautify our community, and whereas Fitchburg has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation for 23 consecutive years, has earned 11 growth awards, and desires to continue its tree planting ways. And whereas, in 1970, Senator Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin suggested in a speech that a one-day demonstration be held to show concern for the environment. April 22nd, 1970 was designated the original Earth Day. And whereas, in recognition of Earth Day, April 22nd, 2021, it is desirable to undertake efforts to clean up our community's roadsides and parks. And whereas planting trees by Fitchburg citizens represents a commitment toward community, environment, urban forestry, and aesthetic beauty. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the City of Fitchburg that April 30th, 2021 is officially known as Fitchburg Arbor Day and Earth Day celebration. Now, therefore, be it further proclaimed by the City of Fitchburg that all citizens are urged to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, to support our city's urban forestry program, that all citizens are urged to plant trees to promote the well-being of present and future generations, so that future generations can continue to enjoy a green and healthy community. They look back upon the foresight and dedication of their predecessors with pride and with gratitude, and to join with others across our state and nation in celebrating the nobility of trees. Proclaim this 27th day of April, 2021. We've got one of the members of our tree committee here. Do you want to say any words at all?
Yeah, This is just a nice support of the efforts of the tree committee and trying to maintain, in spite of ash borer, decline with ash trees, to maintain and to promote and expand the tree canopy to something that's more healthy environmentally and as well as aesthetically for our community. So this is one of our efforts, and our forester, Anna, works on using these efforts to do outreach in the community and working with various citizens with this.
And thank you for serving on our committee as well. All right. You want that? There you go. Good. All right, you can go back to your spots now. Oh, thank you. Now we've got some mayoral appointments for some new people. Did Jesse show up at all, Scott? Which one, sir? Jesse Pringle? No. All right, then we'll pass on him then. And Brock Schilling is here for the library board. Brock, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving on the library board, that'd be great.
Yeah, so just looking to be more involved in the community, and I've been using the library ever since I've lived here, and it's been great. Although, with COVID and getting that kind of shut down, a lot of the programs going virtual. Happy to hear it's kind of reopening, and yeah, just looking to be more involved in that and help out where I can. About me, yeah, I've lived here for a few years over in the Duns Marsh area. And yeah, that's, I don't know. If
No,
there's
that's
anything
great.
else, or if anyone else has questions.
Yeah, any questions for Brock at all? I can't see Joe and Dave. Scott, you're gonna have to help me out if they raise their hand. Okay, all right. Seeing no questions, does someone want to move to approve? Moved by Jay, seconded by Randy. All in favor of approving Brock, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, you're approved. Thanks a lot, Brock. All right.
Thanks.
Next
Aaron, may
up,
I ask a question?
Yeah.
The next two for Police and Fire Commission, their term expires on the same date. Is that true, or is that maybe an error?
it got changed, actually. Sheena is taking over Jim Wheeler's, actually, and actually expires in 2024. We did late update the agenda
Got it,
for that.
okay. Just wanted to clarify. So
Yep.
Ron Johnson will be, his term expire in
He's
2026.
the 5-year, yep.
Okay, and then Sheena will be
Sheena's-
2024.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So next is Ron Johnson, who's online with us. Ron, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested?
Good afternoon, thank you. And thank you for inviting me. I'm a citizen of Fitchburg. I worked for the past 6 years as the coordinator of the Dane County's Community Restorative Court. So I've been doing restorative justice work for about 20 years. I worked for many years with former Supreme Court Justice Janine Geske from Milwaukee, who taught me this discipline. So I'm interested in helping to make this community a better community, making public systems that we work for and with more responsive. I worked in crime prevention and community development in Milwaukee for many, many years. Many years I was on the other side, a protester. And so I think that now in the autumn of my years, it is time to work from the inside. I have a great deal of respect for former Chief Chad Brackland. We worked together, and I just want to pitch in and make a difference.
All right, thank you. Questions at all? Joe, go ahead.
I'll probably ask this of both candidates, so it's more of a general question. So you mentioned Chief Brackland. I've found my time working with him on the council as well as in other settings that he's very progressive in terms of his approach to policing, to responsiveness to the community. Given sort of the atmosphere that we've been in for decades, but that's sort of been coming to a greater light recently, how can you ensure that as you'll be a part of hiring the next police chief, that, we will focus on ensuring that we have somebody who will continue that level of responsiveness and not, regress into, potentially somebody who may, I'll say, be less less responsive. I'll keep it at that.
Well, I'm not sure how we can ensure it. That's a pretty strong word, Joe. But I always say that I'm a community advocate. And to me, police are part of the community. And the way that we ensure what you're talking about, or try to ensure what you're talking about, I think is through transparency, through communication, through having the courage and the guts to say things that sometimes may be controversial. But I think that we cannot be afraid of words. We cannot be afraid of issues. This country right now is railing with issues between police and the community, and specifically, in many cases, the Black community. And so I think we have a tremendous job ahead of us. And I've got a few ideas. So that's sort of where I'm at.
Thank you.
Any other questions at all? Yeah, Jay.
Looking through the two applicants that are before us tonight, one of the things that I had a question about is the Police and Fire Commission in municipalities doesn't do a lot with actually setting policy within the department. There's some work in that, but the bulk of the work that the Police and Fire Commissions do has to do with hiring, firing, discipline of officers. Have you had any specific experience with that kind of supervisory work?
Me? Yes. Supervising police officers? No.
Well,
I've
not necessarily police officers, just any kind of personnel work.
Oh, yeah. I've been doing this kind of work since I was like 19. I'm a former teacher and principal from Milwaukee, and I ran the gang program, the youth diversion program, which was federally funded, for almost 20 years. And then I've been working with the restorative justice program at Marquette University Law School for about 10 years. So yeah, I've had a great deal of experience in supervising staff, developing strategies, and best practices. So I'm a seasoned veteran.
All right. Anyone else?
And I had one other question, but it was more for you.
Sure.
Under the Wisconsin statutes, there's supposed to be a political balance between the members of the Police and Fire Commission. Has that been, I'm not asking anybody's political affiliation, but I just want to be sure that's been done in the background.
Yeah, so we talked about this last year a little bit, and Valerie said that it's not something that is an issue at all right now, and it's actually, she's not sure that it even could be based on statute, but there's no problem with that right now, and people don't have to declare one or the other. So, any other questions for Ron? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Jay.
Second.
Seconded by Joe. All in favor of approving Ron, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hey.
And opposed, nay. All right, you're approved. Thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And now we've got Sheena
Congratulations.
Amble.
Thanks.
Sheena, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and why you're interested in serving?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. My background, long story short, I've got about 20 years in the fire service, both with the volunteer department and also a full-time career department. So I have plenty of experience in the fire service. I'm very excited to be serving on this board, if approved. Just to give insight from the fire department, I think it sounds like there has not been a member who has served for the fire department, only the police. So I'm super excited to bring my insight. I have a big passion in workplace positive culture, presenting a positive culture. And I think I have a lot to offer that I can bring great insight and value to the Police and Fire Commission for the city of Fitchburg.
All right. Joe, do you want to ask your question again?
Or do you need me to repeat it?
Which one? Yeah, repeat it for me, please.
Sure. So just making sure in hiring the new police chief that we have, candidates and eventually select somebody who has, a level of respect for the public, as particularly, communities who historically have been, at the receiving end of whether it be police violence or excessive use of force or other types of things. What sort of in your background or your approach, would lead you to ensure we, find a good replacement to Chief Brecklin?
Thank you. That's a good question. I think right now we're in uncharted waters with the police force and the way that they're transforming. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity. And those who will apply, I think they're going to come with great insight, and they have to. They're going to have to take a different approach in order for the community to welcome them. I think the transparency, I think the process that the city of Fitchburg has is from what I've read is very thorough. I think that's fantastic. And also the accountability that they're going to be held. I'm hoping to involve more of the community members. Will be a part of that as well. But I think the transparency is just going to have to be so thick that there's not going to be any issues with, us choosing somebody as the next police chief. It's a great honor to be a part of. It doesn't happen very often. So I'm privileged and grateful to be given this opportunity.
Thank you.
Jay, did you want to ask your question again?
No, and looking through her application, I was satisfied with the.
All right. Dave.
Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
yeah, I'd like to ask the question. I've heard a lot said. My residents that elected me said they want to feel safe in their homes, and they do not feel safe in their homes. Given what's happened or continuing to happen in our community. What can you tell me to give me some satisfaction that the things you're going to do is going to make a difference for our existing homeowners that are fearful. Everyone's losing their bikes, robberies. It's pretty prevalent, and I'd like some assurances that we're going to be looking at that, and not just sweeping it under the rug. So that's all I'd like to say.
Go ahead,
Is that
Sheena.
a question for me then, or more of a statement?
It is a question, yes. Yeah.
Okay. How will I ensure that crime is lowered and the citizens feel safe in their home? Is that right?
Yes. How do you get the focus? How can you tell me that's going to be the focus? I guess.
Right. I think that's everybody's, myself included, as being a resident of Fitchburg. That's going to have to be on the front lines. Us behind the scenes, we can enforce it and encourage it and carry through the discipline, and us building a relationship where you're bringing this stuff to our attention and helping with protocols and processes. I think we have to work together as a team in order to make the entire community feel safe. And that's my ultimate goal. I want to feel safe. I live here. I don't think anybody should live in fear. I don't think anybody should come to work in fear. I think, I'm the biggest fan for that and to support that in any way I can. And that'll be on the back of my mind all the time.
Thank you.
Seeing none. Someone want to make a motion?
Move approval?
Second.
Moved by Jay, seconded by Julia. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, you are approved. Thank you, Sheena.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, moving along. I do not have anyone that wants to speak on a non-agenda item, so we can move along to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval?
So move.
Moved by Jay, seconded by Joe. Anything that anyone wants to take out of the consent agenda and do separately?
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to remove anything. I just want a piece of information. when it comes back, not tonight, because I know you don't have it. But it's on Resolution R9921. When that comes back to us, I would like to have a map of the area that's in question here, and I'd also like some documentation that the affected property owner has been informed of this action.
Okay, yeah, if staff can work on that one, that'd be great. All right, seeing nothing else, all in favor of approving consent agenda, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Administrator's report, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. City Hall has started with a soft reopening. As of Monday of this week, we had about 17 customers coming in for dog licenses, meters, and those types of requests and activities. If the public is coming in and looking for a particular staff person, it's best to call ahead and seek an appointment just to make sure that they're here and available. The full reopening of City Hall will start on Monday, May 10th is the date that we're projecting for that. For city meetings, we're still operating with a hybrid of Zoom and in-person options. If you attend in person, we're still requiring masks and social distancing for the meetings, as you can see in the council chambers this evening. We're continuing to work with the postal contract station. As of right now, it's still open through May 15th, and we're working with a potential new operator. They're doing some due diligence, and hopefully we'll know if they're going to continue that extension of that contract past May 15th. I'll update you at the next council meeting with more information on that. We've got 2 new hires. We've got Barry will be starting Monday as our utility supervisor in the Public Works Department. And then we have a new commercial assessor who will be starting on May 28th, and his name is Bart. So we filled 2 key positions within the city staff here, so people are happy about that. And then I've got a report from our assessing department. We'll be mailing postcards out on Friday to all property owners, letting them know the open book and board of review dates. Change of assessment notices will be mailed out this week. Also, an insert will be included with the assessment notices explaining frequently asked questions, important dates, and important links to websites. This is a maintenance assessment cycle and not a revaluation, so only properties whose assessment has changed will receive an assessment notice. Open book will run from Friday, May 14th through Thursday, May 20th, weekdays from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and the Board of Review will be held on Monday, June 7th, starting at 9 a.m. until adjournment for it. They've updated the assessing page on the city's website with a variety of information, and they've included the assessment change notice insert, sale books, and frequently asked questions, and many more useful resources on our website there. And then lastly, just a shout out from Sarah Olson, our HR director. Giant kudos to the Fact TV team. They're always responding to last-minute meeting requests with such positivity and problem-solving, can-do attitudes. We, the department heads, are so grateful for their support, expertise, professionalism, and wonderful sense of humor. Giant kudos to Jeremy Crosby, Scott Yarborough, Andrew Baumlet, Chad Cole, and George Cloyd for their great work. So thank you, Fact TV, for keeping us up and running through the last year with all the hybrid of meetings and juggling that we've had to do. We appreciate all your efforts and again, positivity.
Agreed. All right, any questions for Mike at all? All right, moving along to Planning Commission, Randy.
Plan Commission met last week, April 20th. First item on the agenda, Certified Survey Map CS-2375-21, request by Amy Niemenschei-Check, agent for CertCo, Inc., for approval of a certified survey map to combine property associated with 5305 and 5321 Verona Road into one lot, lots 1 and 2, CSM 5942. This CSM was postponed until May 18th, 2021.
So are you moving to postpone?
Pardon?
Are you moving to postpone?
Yes.
All right. Is there a seconded by Jay? And it's postponed mainly because Circle just has to do a little more cleanup. It'll come back, but it'll come back in a month here after we go with the Plan Commission. It was on their request, actually, Circle's request, that it be postponed. Any questions at all on this?
There were a lot of comments from Public Works on this in the information we had, and I would, when it comes back, I'd just like to see Public Works tell us that that everything's been incorporated.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Then all in favor of postponing, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, next one, Randy.
Motion to approve Resolution R-96-21 CS -2378-21, resolution approving certified survey map request CS-2378-21 by John D. Frybree, agent for Homewood Retail 3 LLC, to create one lot on property along Notre Dame, Outlot 1 CSM 14487. Plan Commission approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jay. And what's this about, Randy?
Let's see my background here. Make sure I have the right one with my notes. The applicant is requesting reapproval of the CSM to create one lot and dedicate a road right-of-way, Notre Dame Drive. Applicant received a CSM approval in 2018, which has expired.
Yeah, so it's a project that had been approved a few
That's
years
correct,
ago. And
yes.
they're actually getting into it now.
Correct, yeah.
Questions or comments on this one? Yeah, Julia.
So if there is any plans for that parcel?
So this is 47 condos that
Oh,
they want
that
to
one.
build.
Okay.
Yep,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
right next to the crossing off
They're
of Lacey
coming
Road.
back?
Was that?
They're coming back?
They're gonna actually do the project now.
Oh, okay, because
Yeah.
it was, okay.
Yeah, we approved it, but after a year, other approvals expire, and so they have to
Okay,
come
okay,
back to get approval again.
Okay.
So they're actually going forward with it.
Okay.
It's 47 townhome condo units.
2-3 years ago?
About 3 years ago, yeah. My first year on council.
2018.
Right, anything else? All right, all in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Anything else for plan, Randy?
Nothing else that I can think of, unless you have something to offer.
I don't. All right. Public Works, Dave, do you want to handle these?
Yes, start out with number one, Resolution R 6521, approving an agreement between Wisconsin DOT, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, and city, reconstruct and improve Badger State Trail as part of Lacey Road construction project. Basically approving that agreement to
Can you, first you
design
need,
the road.
hold on, first I need you to make a motion.
Can we have a motion to approve Resolution R
All
6521?
right. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jay, and then now you can
All
tell us about it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So this is part of, the Badger State Trail crosses Lacey Road, and we will need to redesign the trail crossing when the road is redesigned, so that's what this resolution is setting forth.
And did Public Works approve?
It did.
Did Plan Commission approve? I believe we
On the,
believe we did on this one, yes.
last
It was
meeting.
tabled at.
Oh, we tabled it,
tabled.
sorry. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Yes, we've got the language coming forward, some additional language for the agreement, so the council should postpone this one so it can go to the Plan Commission, then it'll come back.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Anything else you want to explain about the project, Dave, before we
Nope,
do anything like
not
that?
at this time.
All right,
Pretty straightforward.
all right. Does someone want to postpone it instead?
Move to
actually.
postpone.
Second that motion.
All right, Randy and Dave, all in favor of postponing, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's postponed. Next one, Dave.
Next, Resolution R 8521, a resolution approving release of public utility easement and recording of new public stormwater easement in Lot 96 of Fahey Fields. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
All right,
Second.
signed by
Moved in
Jay.
second.
And then did Public Works approve?
We did approve this.
All right, did Plan
This
Commission
was a
approve this one, Randy?
reconfiguration.
We did.
I don't know if Bill is there. Is Bill at the meeting here?
Bill is, I don't know if he's listening, but he's online.
If Bill would want to speak to it, it's a
Oh,
reconfiguration.
I see him turn his mic
I'll let
off,
Bill
all right.
speak.
Which resolution was this?
This is number 2, the public utility easement and the court of new public stormwater easement on 96 of Fahey Fields.
Yeah, over on Fahey Fields, there is a public utility easement that was being used, a 6-foot easement for public utilities. And the developer needed to install a stormwater pipe to the back of the lot for public stormwater. So we had the public utility easement vacated by the utilities, and we're reestablishing a 15-foot utility stormwater easement over the top of that.
All right. Anything else, Dave, you want to add?
No, I do not.
All right, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. Next one.
Next resolution, R 8921, approving First Amendment to supplement to agreement for subdivision improvements in the plat of 6th edition to 9 Springs. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Second.
Seconded by Randy. And did Planning Commission approve?
Yes.
Did Board of Public Works approve?
Yes, we did.
All right, what's this one about?
Well, this is standard, you know, we're changing the agreement. I believe it was the timing. And I will let Bill jump in here again.
All right, Bill, go ahead.
Yes, the 6th edition subdivision improvement agreement required that all of the improvements be completed before occupancy is issued on the buildings. And they were at a point where it didn't make sense to complete that pathway that needed to be installed with the second building, and it should be installed after the third building or the last building in that is completed. So this agreement is just asking to amend that so that the final approval for occupancy goes with the last building with that subdivision improvements.
Essentially, it doesn't make sense to put in a path that's going to get tore up during construction of the next building.
Right.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. Next one, Dave.
Next, we have Resolution R 90-21, a resolution approving public pedestrian bike path easements in lots 62 and 63 in 6th edition to 9 Springs. We have a motion to approve.
Seconded by Jay, and did Planning Commission approve?
Planning Commission approved.
Did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved also.
All right, do you want to speak to this or let Bill take this one?
Bill, go ahead. This is related to the previous one, I believe.
Correct. This one is with the agreement being supplemented, we also added in that the path had to be wider to meet our standard specifications for a 10-foot wide path. And it required an easement for maintenance beyond the installation of that path. So it was increased to the 20-foot wide, and the easements are covering that within that area for the pathway.
Questions or comments on this one? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. One more, Dave.
Resolution R 91-21, approving agreement for subdivision improvements in the plat of Livia's Place. We have a motion to approve.
So move.
All right.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Actually, but Mike, you want to speak to this, I believe, or Bill, do you want to speak to this? I think we want to actually postpone this, don't we?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dave, or if you know, you can.
No, let them speak, yeah.
Okay. Bill, do you want to speak to why we're postponing?
Board of Public Works had some questions regarding platting of this or the replatting of this area. And we needed to follow up with that information. And they asked to table this until the next meeting of the Board of Public Works to get those answers.
All right. So if someone wants to move to postpone, we can do that instead.
So moved.
All right. Moved by Jay.
Second.
Seconded by Gabriella. Any further questions about this, postponing this? All right. All in favor of postponing, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's postponed. Anything else, Dave, for Public Works?
We'll have some more, but nothing right now.
All right, then moving along to Park Commission, Julia.
No report, we are meeting next week.
All right, Library Board. I forget who's on Library Board.
Well,
Jay, that's right, okay.
I just got appointed to it, but I wasn't an official member at the last meeting, but I did attend. And the main thing that that came out of that was the library has published now their reopening plan with COVID-19 protocols in place. So if that's available currently on the website, and if you were on the library's email list, you got it also.
Excellent. I know people are excited about that reopening. Commission on Aging, well, Dave, I believe.
Yeah, we've not had a meeting yet, so I have nothing to report.
All right, no problem. RCC, Gabriella.
We meet next on May 10th.
All right. What about transportation and transit? You got a couple things this time.
Yes, we'll start with, well, I guess we'll start with the resolutions. I move approval of Resolution R6121, resolution approving a typical section for the Lacey Road reconstruction project from Fitchburg Road to Seminole Highway.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Did Transportation and Transit approve it?
No.
All
It was
right.
amended to add buffered bike lanes, and then that failed.
All right. Did Public Works approve, or what did they do, Dave?
Public Works recommended we defer this decision until additional information came in. There was a tree survey the ad hoc committee wanted to see, and they also wanted to see probably another meeting or two with the city, hammering out a few more design issues. It is our hope that we can have this hammered out, that we can vote on this in May, get this cross section approved at that time. We've received a lot of public input. I know this has been my half-time job, hearing comments from the public on this road section. And again, Public Works wanted to delay it. A little more information could be gathered.
All right. And what did Finance do?
Finance referred to council.
TV is fighting with you on the mic.
Fighting with the button here. Yeah.
Do you want to explain this first, Gabriella, before we go to public comment?
Yes, so essentially this is coming to council to get our advice on what the typical cross-section looks like. It will vary depending on across the length of the road because it is a very varied cross-section. But this is a proposal that the staff came up with after having a couple meetings with stakeholders and a public meeting, and eliminated some width in the road. I think we went from 11-foot lanes to 10-foot lanes for the cars, eliminated the buffered area for bikes, eliminated the sidewalk and the terrace on the south side, and overall kind of narrowed the cross-section. And they're bringing it here for a response from the council so that design can move forward and come back to council in the future.
All right, we've got a number of people that want to speak from the community. Just a reminder that you have 3 minutes max. You can take up less if you'd like, but I will stop you at about 3 minutes. First is Rita Hendricks, and then after that will be Tony Hartman if you want to get ready. Tony?
Good evening. I'm Rita Burke-Henricks, a Fitchburg resident for over 16 years. I'm here this evening to ask the council to postpone this until May 25th in order to gain more information and improve this project. Many of you promised in your campaigns to protect the environment and be fiscally responsible. This project, as it stands now, fails in both these areas. Even if there's enough money allotted for this, doesn't mean we have to spend it all. We need to be fiscally responsible as well as environmentally responsible. Fitchburg citizens want transparency. We want to be heard, to be part of the discussion and not invited to one meeting and expected to agree because there's a rush to pass something through. This project fails here. What is the rush when there are so many questions and concerns unanswered? As I spoke with various citizens over the past few weeks, The same themes were repeated. Most people, myself included, want the mayor and council to postpone this project and work so that the end result is more fiscally and environmentally responsible. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Tony, you are next, and after that will be Patrick Cheney.
Thanks, guys, and welcome to the council. Some of the new old faces and new faces. Most of you know that I'm a former alder, so as soon as I can bring my notes back up here, I also live at 5680 Wayland Road, and I'm president or acting president of Bike Fitchburg at the moment. I want to talk about Lacey Road in particular because it bears the name of one of the city's oldest, most well-known families. I think it's a recognized transportation landmark for citizens of Dane County, especially those within the city. And while I was serving on the council, we redeveloped and rerouted the stretch between our city hall and County MM and across Highway 14. No small amount of money was spent on that, and it was done responsibly, and it was done with safety as the highest priority. And finally, with the spirit of cooperation, I think a successful project was achieved with curbs and gutters, with shoulders that were paved. Trees were removed in that road improvement, and new trees were planted. People didn't want to lose some of those trees, understandable, but we have 35 square miles here, folks, with lots of heritage oaks. There are plenty of places to see those trees. The result is we have a wonderful city asset and an entry portal from the east side of the city, now our two City Hall and the library. People bike, walk, ride scooters, rollerblade, jog, push baby buggies, utilize the roadway, the shoulders, the multi-use path, and there are curbs and gutters throughout. To not treat the west side of Lacey Road with similar goals in mind would be especially short-sighted. I think our city staff took a responsible approach with the design work already undertaken, and they had the same goals for the improvements between Seminole Highway and Fitch-Rona Road. Wonderful city asset and entry portal from the east side of the city.
Someone online, if you could mute, I think, because we're getting feedback.
Again, with safety as the highest priority, I think to hack away at the plan that the city has already worked on, that city staff has spent a lot of time on, would be irresponsible. I think it's short-sighted and selfish to do otherwise, frankly. You know, if we want to preserve Fitchburg's rural feel, we could always just outlaw motor vehicles and build a bridle path. That would save a lot of money, right? It's also something that, you know, if we're not driving our cars, that's very environmental, right? So, you know, I'm being a little bit facetious here, but there's a responsible way to spend our tax dollars. And then there's not acknowledging that Fitchburg's a dynamic place built upon change, positive change. So I'll conclude by telling you that Bike Fitchburg's group of, you know, over 400 members, very active volunteer board, are serious about safety on the roadways. So the unanimous sentiment was that Fitchburg's Engineering and Public Works Department did a wonderful job with planning for this project, and riding and walking is definitely what I would call environmental. So please respect our city staff and their investment in this important project. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I've got Patrick Cheney, and after that, Steve Arnold.
Patrick Cheney. I'm in District 3. I'm the president of the East Fitchburg Neighborhood Association, or EFNA, and I've been in Fitchburg for 25 years. I'm opposed to the full blown out all possible features version, but I would be in support of a minimal actually necessary features as many residents want. And I understand that the community leaders who are the most interested in this project are asking this be tabled. In more general terms, thinking about West Lacey project and all similar road construction projects which change rural to urban, I support retaining the rural atmosphere and appearance which Fitchburg has stated we want to retain our rural and even our farm flavor here. As in this West Lacey project, I see a familiar theme where of any like projects and of all road design consultant companies that always seem to take a rural road and redesign it to an urban street with all the possible features of curb and gutter, median, sidewalk, path, and special purpose dedicated lanes for the 1% who will use them, and that's not 1% of the population. I see similarities of this to 3 projects on Syene. There's one going to be done this year, a repaving, and there's one in planning this year for reconstruction next year, which is quite extensive, and then North Syene in a future year when the design consultants want to build in everything possible. What incentive do they have for creating a more complex design? I suggest a requirement of this in all future consultant design project contracts. Require one version at a simple, minimal, basic design with no extras or frills, and one version of just repaving the road, and that's all, and see how many people support this. A few years ago, East Lacey, in its first earliest versions, were 4 lanes with sidewalk and dedicated bike lanes on both sides and every feature possible. Our EFNA, that's our neighborhood association, met monthly for valuable local resident input and on-site knowledge. And with compromise, we have a good final project. But there were many who would have been happy with just repaving the road. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I've got Steve Arnold, and then after that, Sue Easterday. I'm going people in the chambers first, Sue, and I'll get people online. And I passed out your sheet, everyone, as well.
Thank you, Your Honor. Probably it'll be easier with only one mask on. Welcome new and returning alders. For those of you who are new, just orientation that Bike Fitchburg is the local bicycle advocacy organization for Fitchburg. We advocate for those who ride now and those who will ride in the future, both for transportation and recreation. The council approved a resolution in 2018 to join the city with Bike Fitchburg and the Fitchburg Chamber in Wisconsin Active Together, to promote active transportation. And so you are formally our partner in this effort. These recommendations were adopted unanimously by the Bike Fitchburg board last night after reviewing the staff recommendations. We reject the removal of the 2-foot painted buffers. Table A2 of the approved 2017 Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan calls for 4-foot bike lane and 2-foot painted buffers for 35-mile-an-hour collector streets with the motor vehicle volume seen on Lacey Road. These buffers are required for biking safely adjacent to 35-mile-per-hour motor traffic. We are neutral in deferring the other neutral to the other changes proposed by staff. However, since space is constrained, it's much more important to use the space for buffers rather than further widening the multi-use path. And after I prepared this document, which was handed out to you tonight and emailed to you, I remembered to remind you that this road segment faces heavy dump truck traffic, and dump trucks are 8 feet wide. And so while I said we were neutral, I'm thinking personally that it's a bad idea to reduce the travel lanes from 11 to 10 feet. When designing thoroughfares for motor vehicles, we plan for a design vehicle. For active transportation, we must likewise consider the design user. For bicycle lanes, it's a bicycle rider moving 12 to 20 miles per hour and exceeding 30 miles per hour on the downhill stretches of this segment of Lacey Road. For a multi-use path, the design user is a walker or bicycle rider moving 3 to 15 miles per hour, as well as skaters, dog walkers, stroller users, and users of power chairs and segways. These users are not compatible, and both bike lanes and a multi-use path are necessary. The city standard configuration for collector roads since 2017 includes buffered bike lanes, a multi-use path on one side, and a sidewalk on the other.
I'm sorry, Steve, I have to stop you, unfortunately, at the 3-minute mark.
All right, so you
Thank
have the
you.
rest of this, and if I may, just
All right.
give the summary, Your Honor.
No, but I'm
We're
sorry, Steve, I
asking for
can't do that.
2-foot
All right,
buffers
I have
restored.
Sue Easterday next, and then Jay Hockenmuth after that.
Hi, I'm Sue Easterday, a 17-year resident of Fitchburg. Our comprehensive plan includes a measure of mature tree canopy in the urban service area at 22%. Included in that number are countless ash trees dying now from emerald ash borer disease. The comp plan's stated tree canopy goal is 30%. Why do these statistics matter? 22% is the available home space to wildlife facing survival pressure. Even a modest woodland supports the life cycle of countless mammals and birds and cleans the air we breathe. Generally, tree canopy is not lost in hundreds of acres at once. Loss occurs in bits and pieces on projects like this, where we tell ourselves we'll save the next parcel, but then we don't do enough to save the one we're discussing. Each spring, returning wildlife does not simply crowd into the next available tree. Each species has evolved as territorial, driving others away from the ever scarcer resources needed to raise a brood of young. Those left without nesting options do not reproduce. This effect has a startling outcome. Migratory bird populations here have declined 40 to 60% since the 1960s. In the same time frame, both big and little brown bats have been listed as threatened species. Something to consider. Nature exists for its own sake. Interspersed with broken limbs or whole dead trees, a woodland attracts insects, and what we see as unsightly is home to wildlife, and the insects therein are on the menu. Hence, this reconstruction plan destroys some very desirable real estate. Replanting with young trees is appreciated, but it does not replicate what is lost. These are not suitable for nesting for 20 to 50 years, and street trees are eventually habitat, but will never be the same as the wild quality of what was just removed. I've heard a lot of concern from our community about the extravagance of this project and disregard for nature. On our petition, we have well over 100 signatures. In terms of concern for the environment, this is a progressive community, and many of you ran for office on a platform including transparency, fiscal responsibility, and environmentalism. We're counting on you. The problem, the desired elements for this road do not fit on a hillside. Rather than work with the existing hillside and habitat, the expensive plan is to bulldoze it all so we humans do not have to limit ourselves. Our citizen group believes we should be open-minded and do better. Please table this agenda item and direct staff to work with our citizen group. A more responsible plan is essential, while many of the elements of this road as designed are not. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I've got Jay Hockenmuth next, and then Tom Clowder after that.
Thank you for the opportunity to appear here tonight on this item. And I know this has taken a lot of people's time, and it's a controversial item, but there's some information that I think everybody has to be aware of before any decisions are made. And so I'm going to deviate from my prepared remarks that I shared earlier with my appearance slip for a moment, just to share a couple of facts that pertain to this project that I think everybody should be aware of. There was a developer agreement that under which a couple of things apply. First of all, if the cost of this project goes above $4.5 million, Fitchburg is on the hook for it. It's not going to come out of the TID. Secondly, the consultant who prepared this plan is not hired by the city of Fitchburg. They're hired by the agreement, the party in the development agreement. We don't know when this plan was prepared. I suspect it was prepared probably before the public meeting was held on February 17th. And that has resulted in some changes to this project that are beneficial and reducing costs and reducing the environmental footprint. However, there's a lot more that could be done, and that's why we're asking for a 1-month delay on this project, so that the staff and the engaged citizens can take a look at this thing and look at it one more time to try to come up with something that's going to represent a compromise that everybody can live with. And so the question's been asked, a couple of points. If you proceed to approve this tonight, this sets the design standards that's going to result in hundreds of thousands of additional dollars being spent to prepare the transportation project plat. That represents yet another commitment towards what has been recommended to you tonight and is set forth in Resolution R6121. We would really like to see some of those provisions changed. We would like to have an opportunity to talk to the staff, indirectly with the consultants who prepared this. There are several options here that could possibly be beneficial in all regards. And for instance, a retaining wall, for instance, grading on the south side that is not required by the sidewalk ordinance. There's a number of things that could be done here. And we hope that tonight the council decides to table this matter until the May 25th meeting. And we hope that the council also gives direction to staff to engage with stakeholders in a fashion consistent with what's in my prepared remarks. That's consistent with the emails we sent to TTC, to BPW, and to this body. And we would appreciate another month to deal with this. And so that's why we're here. And you have our commitment to deal with this in a very expeditious fashion. And so with that, I guess I will turn it back over and give up my time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Tom Clowder, come on up. And that's the last person in chambers here that I have registered. But we got some people online. We'll do those next.
Thanks, Mayor, and to all 8 of you and the mayor, you know what, thanks for serving. I appreciate it. I know it takes time and effort. Thank you. I want to start out by telling you I didn't think I'd be back here this soon, but prior to leaving, this was a hot topic. My phone rang on this one, and I talked to a lot of people on it, and I felt only right to show back up. But this topic also reaches further. You have to know that Lacey Heights people watching, Seminole Forest residents, Wildwood residents, Wildwood South residents, Burnwood residents, they all not only use the road, but are very interested in the outcome of this project. You know, District 4, as you know, if you don't, is the only district that has cows. And not only that, but we have the rural setting, and it's the largest district in the city. And you know what? Some of us want to keep that rural setting. It's interesting that this project takes down a number of trees on West Lacey Road, and I hope to God that we don't take as many down as we did on East Lacey Road for that project, along with the project that 2 alders heard about at Seminole Highway in PD, where the trees were all removed. You know, this project is about $6 million. If you want to get technical, it's 5.7, but it's not going to be there. It's going to be 6. There's a lot of projects going on in the city right now, and obviously, you've heard me, this is a huge project to the citizens of Fitchburg. I've traveled this roadway for 35 years, and I'm not telling you how old I am. But the fact is you've heard about a multi-use path. John Nolan Drive is a great example. Think about it. When you go uptown, John Nolan Drive has everyone. Street lighting, that's expensive. The intersections should be lighted, not the whole street. we, and a number of us, especially the citizens behind me and those watching, all we ask is that you take another look at this, bring it back at a later date on May 25th, direct staff to relook at it, and you know what, when you do it, sharpen your pencil too, because the taxpayers could use the savings.
All right, Tom,
Thank you.
I've got to cut you off. No, thank you.
No problem.
Good timing. All right, that's everyone in chambers that I have registered to speak, unless there's someone who didn't fill out a slip, but I'm not seeing anyone. And we've got at least one person online. Joe, go ahead, Joe.
Rita, I'm a 20-year resident of Fitchburg, and I'm speaking today because I'm extremely concerned about multiple aspects of the April 12th staff proposal for the West Lacey Road construction project. First and foremost for me is the environmental impact of the project. Currently, the city doesn't even have a complete tree survey to know how many trees will be destroyed as a result of the construction. And, you know, Sue touched on how these trees aren't just trees. They're part of an ecosystem that's home to countless animals and critters that keep our local environment healthy and functioning, including the big and little brown bat. And construction projects like this chip away at the environment and further threaten the already disturbed ecosystem here in our hometown. I think it's the city's duty to perform the proper due diligence for these projects to ensure the environmental impact, as well as the cost to the taxpayers, are both minimized. Another thing I wanted to touch on as an avid biker is this idea that we need to have on-street bike lanes everywhere possible. I mean, I'm a very confident rider. I love biking. I bike very fast, and I like to bike for long distances. But I don't think on-street bike lanes are a good idea for a project like this, where there's already a multi-use path in place or planned. The vast majority of riders, myself included, I think don't feel safe or really enjoy biking on the street next to cars and trucks and even semis. And for the city to spend additional money and create more impervious surface, which increases runoff and worsens flooding around the city. But in this case, flooding on Fitchrona Road, which is already particularly bad, just doesn't seem like a wise use of resources. And one final thought is that West Lacey Road remains 2 lanes only. It's not a proper route for semi trucks serving the business area in general. We've spent millions of dollars on McKee and Verona roads, and more will be spent on Seminole Highway. I think these are the primary routes in place now, or at least soon, to serve the businesses in the area. And I think there should be signage to reflect these as alternate routes to, you know, West Lacey Road. So all we're asking for is 1 additional month so the city can properly analyze and plan this out. There's a detailed alternative proposal that Jay mentioned that a large group of citizens think would be much more environmentally friendly, as well as minimize costs, and we would like a side-by-side analysis of the 2 plans. And lastly, I know there's some corporations that are pressuring the city to pass this as is tonight, and I recognize the value that they add to the community, but I do not want to see my city give into that pressure. If all of you, the alders, and the city wants the citizens to feel confident that the city is doing the right thing for both the environment as well as using our taxpayer dollars wisely, then I urge all of our alders to vote to table this decision until the next council meeting on May 25th. Thank you.
Or public comments, so I can open up to council questions, comments, things like that. Jim? Oh, sorry, Gabriella, go ahead.
I was wondering if Andrew could, just for people that are, could we walk through the original cross-section that was proposed at the original meeting and then show us the proposal that's before us today as a comparison? Could you just walk us through and maybe even pull them up on the screen, either Bill or Andrew, whoever is on?
So we got an idea for the changes that have already been made, and
Yeah, I just want it to all be for us to be very clear in our minds, what was before, what it is now, so that we can really truly be comparing these 2 things and what the decisions are before us.
yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Sorry. While I do that, I So I guess I can certainly reference the packet. We have kind of the two kind of pictures of them. Sorry, as I drop down there. All right. So, can you see my screen? Okay,
yes, we can.
Awesome. So yeah, so first, the February 1st cross-section, or February 17th cross-section. So this was the cross-section, kind of our first iteration, what we presented to the public on February 17th. And you can see, this is the cross-section that includes the median. We don't have a median for the whole corridor, but, we had it for a larger stretch, so I included it here. And so just walking through from south to north, so we're looking, west as we stand on the corridor. So on the south side, we have that 5-foot sidewalk, 7-foot terrace, 2-foot curb and gutter, so a foot of curb head and a foot of gutter pan. We have 5-foot bike lanes. That includes 1 foot in that gutter pan, 2-foot painted buffer, 11-foot travel lanes, a variable width median, up to basically 16 feet. And then on the other side, the same thing. And then the terrace on the north side varies, but typically 7 to 10 feet, and then a 10-foot shared use path. And so that was kind of that original cross section. When we were working with this advisory group, kind of like what could we take out? The group kind of walked through each element and said, oh, like let's see an option without all that. And so that's kind of what we came up with. That looks similar to this, but slightly different. So we kind of walked everything down. We said, well, let's take out the grading, or take out the actual sidewalk and just do grading on the south side. So that's why you see here we would have just the grading on the south side. We stripped down the medians quite a bit. We removed the buffered bike lane and extended this 10-foot shared use path to 12 feet just on the hill where we're going to have the highest speed differential between users. And we dropped down the travel lanes to 10 feet. And then what you're seeing here is kind of a staff recommendation that widens the kind of curb to curb street width by 2 feet to accommodate on-street bike facilities. That was kind of a compromise between kind of the floor and kind of what we had originally presented to the public on February 17th. So hopefully that helps.
All right, thank you. And before we go further, I messed up one thing. I forgot to, a number of people emailed us, and I wanted to at least recognize those, read those names out. These people all wrote in to the council asking to delay the project. They all live in Fitchburg, and I can read their names here. Robert Tweed, Lisa West, Michael Bryant, Lillian Golbach-Baker, Kathy Dungeon, David Rizzo, Michael Thompson, Tennille Ludwig, Peter and Jill Lundberg, Cheryl and Kevin Thies, Eric, he didn't put a last name, I don't know who Eric is, but Eric, Dennis Iverson, Gary Bedoni, Diane Ramika, Mara Boudry, Anita Clark, Mary Steele, Michael Fallhaber, Evan Raymont and Hazel Holden, Terrell Brock, John and Vicky Kokalis, Catherine Grotenhuis, Andy Sleeger, Tom Thorson, Jill Lundberg, Krista Schmidt, Shelley Reimer, Roberta Slattery, Jim Dolk, Marion Ken Baroker, Lori Verdon, Maria and Michael Poransky, and Cheryl and Mike Majerus. And then we had a couple of people that emailed in saying that they didn't think we should delay it, that we should go forward with that. And that is Micah Ladusa and Jim and Pam Yoder. All right, sorry I missed those first. Further questions, comments? Randy, yeah.
Questions back to Andrew. Andrew, what was the starting road right away, and what is the road right away now? I know you've thrown up a lot of numbers there in the cross section. I'm just trying to, from this angle, I'm not getting a clear picture of what the road right away was and is now. Or is it always the same? Has it always stayed the same? It's just the pavements and everything else has changed.
I'm sorry. I think I think I lost the VPN there at the beginning of your comment, so I got kicked
Okay.
off. But I think
I can repeat it. I'm just,
it's hard to kind of visualize, right of way to right of way that what has changed. I will note that, this is a urban collector. On those, we typically, as it is developed, we will get, dedicated 80 feet of right of way. We don't have that in all these stretches, so I guess, I hope, hopefully that kind of answers your question. So
it's not consistent all the way through, like 33 foot. I mean, I mean, everything's, 16 and a half foot rod. I mean, so it's not consistent from start to finish is what you're saying. The road right away.
You're talking about the right of way limits or the design? Sorry, just to clarify. Yeah, I guess both of them are not consistent across the corridor, across the roughly 1.1 miles of corridor.
Okay.
In this particular case, you can kind of see in the design that, it varies as, we call a typical cross section, and that's kind of the general kind of feel of the corridor. But yeah, it definitely varies depending upon left turn lanes, medians, avoiding conflicts, that sort of thing.
And
Okay,
before
thank
we continue, I should also say, I forget this is the first meeting, real meeting. I should have mentioned this at the beginning for all the council members. I'll keep a list of people that want to speak. So if you just raise your hand and I'll get you written down and keep you in order and everything like that. So we don't have to keep raising your hand or worry about jumping in. Just if you raise your hand, I'll give you a little nod and write you down and keep an order of it. So I've got Joe and then Jim after that. And then,
Sure. So I don't know who the right person to ask this question is, but what will this area surrounding the road look like in 10, 15, 20 years? I know there's apartments all the way on the end towards Fitchburg. I know there's a solar farm to the south. And there's if you go a little bit further north, there's, companies on the north and the south. So is there going to be more development around this area? And will it be residential primarily? Will it be industrial? What's going to be there? Because I think that will help shape sort of my approach to this resolution.
Mike, do you want to answer that?
I can answer some of it. Yeah, on the north side of Lacey Road, west of Seminole Highway, there's still room for additional kind of general industrial commercial growth. There's still some acreage that's available on that side of the road. On the south side of Lacey Road, right at Fitchburg in the intersection there, Payne and Dolan, there's about, I think 65 acres that's in the urban service area right now. That's currently in the urban service area, and they will be coming to the Plan Commission. They'll be on the May agenda, actually, for a comprehensive development plan for a residential subdivision that's going to include about 100 and I think just about 130, I think, housing units there, and that would be a combination of single-family lots as well as duplex units. So that's right at the corner of Fitchburg and Lacey Road. Then the area that kind of surrounds that land that's in the urban service area, and it's the Richardson property and additional land that Payne and Dolan owns, is identified as our South Stoner Prairie neighborhood future urban growth area. Now that land is still currently outside of the urban service area, but we've been talking internally about launching that neighborhood plan process. It would have to go through a neighborhood plan just like the North Stoner Prairie did, and then it would have to go forward to CARPC and the DNR for an urban service area extension. So you're talking for that neighborhood to come in, it would probably be a good two and a half year process to go through the neighborhood plan and approach CARPC to bring that into the urban service area. One other project that's out there that you might remember is the 40 acres immediately south of Lacey Road, west of the natural gas kind of hub that's right there. Edgewood College is looking to acquire that acreage from the O'Brien family, and they're looking to consolidate their athletic fields on the 40 acres there. That's one that was added to or identified on the future land use plan, but it still has to go forward to CARPC for an urban service area adjustment request with Edgewood. And again, that would be for consolidating all of their athletic fields on that 40 acres right there.
Am I missing anything?
Just to
Mayor?
follow up, Mike, then it sounds like there's going to be a lot of people there, both employees of companies and residents, within the next decade or so, more so than are already there now. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, and I would point out, a lot of people don't realize this, but on the Sub-Zero campus currently, we've got 2 million square feet under roof already under their campus, and there's 1,500 employees currently working out of that campus before they occupy the new building that's under construction. That'll add probably another 200 employees into that building that'll open later this summer. And then we'll have the Promega facility opening probably the end of the second quarter, early third quarter of this year. So those are some additional business activities. Sub-Zero has some additional land up on the hill that's available for growth and development off of Commerce Park Drive. And then we've got some quarry land that Payne and Dolan still has that's west of the Commerce Park Drive extension to that. I think within 10 years, I think is maybe going to be looking for reclamation of that area for additional development. One thing we've been trying to accomplish in this area is to get the transportation network in place and punching Commerce Park Drive south to Lacey Road. Because as you know, before we got Sub-Zero Parkway out to Seminole Highway, all of the traffic was funneling out to Commerce Park Drive at McKee Road. And I think one of the things we tried to do, as an example with Orchard Point development, there's traffic there, but I think we provide multiple ways for people to get in and out of that neighborhood and development so we don't overload one intersection. I think that's what we were trying to accomplish here too, was to have a really good transportation network north and south for people to get around in that area to manage the traffic that's going to be there.
Yeah, I think the only other thing is, it's not in Fitchburg, but Verona continues to grow and expand on that border, and Costco, I'd imagine it'll at least have some impact. I don't know how much, but that Costco is going in over there, along with, I don't know what else is planned, but I know that's a big one people are interested in.
Yeah, not only commercial growth there, but significant residential growth that's going to be coming in our neighbor to the west there with the city of Verona.
All right, I've got Jim next, then Gabriella, and then Dave.
Mayor, I'm new here, so I'm just, a couple questions here.
Can you make sure you speak in the mic.
Okay. But I would like to refer this to the May 25th meeting. And I don't know, do I have to make an amendment to do that, or?
I mean, I think it'd be nice if we waited to have more discussion before we postponed it or anything like that, if that'd be all right. I just don't want to cut off conversation or anything like that.
That'll work, thank you.
That's okay, all right. Gabriella, and then Dave after that.
Yeah, I think Julia too.
Oh, Julia, all right, I got you on the list too.
So I guess I have two questions, if that's all right. Andrew, number one, there's a lot of conversation about the bike lanes, and there's obviously people here that have asked us to add the buffered bike lanes. But speaking just as this cross-section that's being proposed here, there's room on either end for bike lanes. But my understanding is that those are more than just bike lanes in terms of the usability of the street. Can you speak to that?
Sure, yeah. So, originally, as we were walking through it with the kind of advisory group of citizens, I think the idea was, let's try to trim this curb-to-curb street width down as much as possible. So, we took the travel lanes down to 10 feet, but we can't really build a 20-foot, curb-to-curb street, just because if there's any emergency stoppage, mail delivery, or any other reason, construction activities, then we would have to go to flagging operations. And, it's just not a very flexible street. Our local streets are currently, to standard 32 feet minimum. WSDOT would recommend 32 to 34 feet minimum curb to curb for a roadway like this. At 28 to 30 feet, we're really kind of on the lower end, and 28 is really the minimum that we could fit 3 trucks side by side at very slow speeds. So that's really, we called it a 5-foot bike lane. We could have said a paved shoulder, and in a rural condition, that would be a win. In this case, it is definitely substandard. We typically wouldn't put a traditional bike lane directly adjacent to a 35-foot roadway. But knowing kind of what the alternative is of not having an on-street facility. We felt like this is kind of the safest kind of compromise to have on-street facilities as well as a high comfort shared use path, and keeping that cross-section width as small as possible.
So the width is it's bike lanes, but it also gives that flexibility for having a wider road has benefits in terms of
Exactly. And
cars being
Lacey
able to move
Road, just
fast.
to the east of Seminole, is between 32 and 34 feet, kind of pavement edge to pavement edge. So to give kind of that perspective, we're talking about smaller than kind of what that rural cross-section is right now.
And could I ask one more question? I'm sorry. The other question I have, and this came out during the Transportation and Transit Committee meeting, but I appreciate the removal of the sidewalk to the south in this cross-section because it does strike me as the fact that future developers on that side could potentially contribute to paying for that sidewalk. But the design still includes grading on that side for sidewalk and then also continuing out. And my question, I think, to you at the time was, can we reduce that amount of grading? Do we have to do as much? And you made the point that there's actually some legal requirements about the safety of the road because we're going from a rural road to an urban road, and that we actually have to grade, like there's some legally or safety-wise that we have to grade it out that far. Can you talk about that, what that looks like and why it's being graded out so far, even though we're not going to build a sidewalk potentially?
Sure. Yeah. So there's kind of this concept known as clear zone, and that's kind of space that we don't put in fixed objects and don't have critical slope, which is anything that's greater than 3 feet, kind of run to 1 foot rise. So anything, basically we wouldn't want to have that. The existing slope on the hillside right now is kind of at that critical slope. So if we were to expand at all, we would be kind of over that critical slope and potentially have vehicles have more likelihood of flipping over if they run off the road during icy or snowy conditions or distracted driving. So what the kind of grading of both the terrace and the sidewalk does is it provides kind of that more level landing to allow vehicles, should they go off the roadway, to have a safe place to kind of be able to redirect and get back on. So in a rural cross section, we'd be looking at 16 feet of clear zone. It gets a little bit squishier. Design standards, even as far back as like 10 years ago, we're saying just 2 feet to the back of a raised curb. Now that has been extended to something more like 6 to 10 feet. So, really that's what that grading's also providing us. So it's giving us that clear zone, should a vehicle go off the road, but it's also providing a space to plant new street trees and potentially in some locations lighting, but we haven't quite gotten to that.
But in doing that grading, you do have to remove natives, or can you preserve trees in that graded area?
So typically anything that we're grading, unless it's right on the edge, we wouldn't anticipate saving that. And actually anything kind of within 5 to 10 feet of the grading, depending upon the species and kind of root loss, that might also die. So it's very, very unlikely that we could save anything within the grading limits unless, there's certain cases that we didn't have to disturb that. So like, grading on either side, that sort of thing.
All right, I've got Dave, and then Jay after that, then Julia, and then Shannon on my list. Go ahead, Dave.
Back to we were talking on the north side, the property, Payne and Dolan, where they have the quarry. It's my understanding that area is kind of in a conservation easement. That Payne and Dolan can't quarry it. It's not limestone. It's not really suitable. But I understand that would be left in a natural easement. Can Mike Zimmerman speak on that? That's what I understood with it. And that kind of goes back to Joe's question, what else is going on the road?
There's some land right, am I on? Yeah. There's some land immediately adjacent to Lacey Road that I think falls under that, but then they've got additional land to the north that still would be available for development.
Beyond that corridor or the hill sloping up on the north side, you're talking behind that, Mike?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But there is a parcel immediately adjacent to Lacey Road that is that conservancy there.
Okay. All right. So that's staying there. That won't be developed. Won't be development right on the road there. The second thing, question for Andrew. again, I know he's been asked this several times, but is it feasible to consider a guardrail on the south side so we don't have to do as much grading? And Andrew, can you address that? A number of people have asked that question.
Sure, it is feasible. I'll say that's not the first alternative we like to go with. It obviously requires maintenance and it's not foolproof. Whereas, like typically, kind of in our design standards, we would say eliminate the issue and then plan around it, put in a guardrail. Or if that's not feasible, you don't put it in guardrail, and then it's just substandard. And so, kind of in that order. And so in this case, by regrading, we're kind of eliminating that critical threat of somebody going off and flipping the vehicle. Whereas the guardrail would be kind of a cost-saving measure that wouldn't be our first preferred. So yes, definitely possible. We started getting some cost estimates for our group, and certainly something we can look at. Not necessarily something that we would typically include in a typical cross-section resolution.
Right, so then I'll be brief here then. My prerogatives from the start have been a design that's safe, adequate for the future, and cost effective. And I've rode my bike a lot, both on Lacey between Seminole and Munchler, and Wayland between Seminole and Munchler. And those cross-sectional areas are adequate. They're approximately what we're proposing for Lacey. I'd prefer to have two 11-foot bike or 11-foot lanes with nothing else, besides the ped path, but we need to have it wide enough, as Andrew mentioned. Vehicles could pass by, and if you look at Wayland between Seminole and towards Munchler, that's approximately the same. Bikes ride on that safely. The number of dump trucks went by me was on the 3-foot shoulder the other day. In my mind, I'm looking at that, and I think that's a good fit for us. And that cross section, then working with the city to come up with a few more design enhancements. And so that's all I'll say. I'm still in favor of deferring.
All right, Jay, go ahead.
Andrew, just a quick question before I make a few comments. Given the development proposals that Mike is talking about, have we done any projections to what we expect traffic volume to be on this section of the road, say in 10 years?
Yeah, there was a preliminary traffic study done prior to when I took over, but it really looked at, we leveraged the Madison travel demand forecasting model, and I believe that we were at something just shy of 10,000 ADT average daily traffic.
All right.
In 2040. So yeah, certainly, lots of growth associated with all the development. But we're, I guess, looking at kind of what the road can handle, generally divided, with left turn lanes, a 2-lane road can handle, 16,000 vehicles per day. And so we're definitely within that in terms of capacity for kind of a 20 to 30-year road life.
Yeah. Well, as Michael was talking about it, I was kind of doing some mental Rolodex in my head based on stuff that we've done in the past, and I was guessing around 11,000 cars per day. So it's pretty similar. And if I recall, and it's been a long time since I've looked at any of these numbers, 11,000 cars per day is about what we have on Seminole Highway north of PD. Is that about correct, or do you not? If you don't know it offhand, that's fine.
Don't know right now.
Okay, I think that's about right. So it's going to be a busy road, and I think we have to design for safety, given the fact that it's going to be a busy road. I'm not sure that I mean, obviously, I don't think any of us here are ready to vote on this tonight, but I'm not really thrilled about the notion of 10-foot travel lanes with unbuffered bike lanes. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. If we're going to go with 10-foot travel lanes, that's fine, but then the bike lanes need to be buffered because this is going to be a busy road. I would also like to know what our plans are for traffic calming on this road, because I can tell you right now, nobody drives 35 on it. And it doesn't get a ton of traffic right now, but sometimes I drive down Lacey Road to get over to Orchard Point, And I get passed by people in no passing zones, which is a significant chunk of that road, all the time, driving 35. So, you know, for example, have we talked about when Commerce Park Drive connects, are we going to put a roundabout there? What are our plans for things like that in the future? I think that needs to come back. And then the other thing that I would like to see when this comes back is somewhere we must have typical cross sections for the other areas of Lacey Road. For example, the section between Fish Hatchery and Seminole, and the section between Fish Hatchery and Syene, and then the section between Syene and MM. If we could get comparisons of those, and you know, the section of Lacey Road that was built between Fish Hatchery and Seminole Highway, that was built a long time ago, and we weren't thinking about roads the same way that we do now. So I'm not sure that that's really the example that we're going to be looking for, but I think we ought to at least have that as comparison in the mix here, so that we can kind of get a better idea of how these puzzle pieces fit together.
All right, I've got Julia next, and then Shannon.
Just to answer your question, sorry. Last year during a travel count, we had about 7,700 on that stretch to Seminole. So, yeah, probably a little bit busier than that potentially. Yep.
I have a couple of questions, maybe. So one of the questions, Andrew, for you is, you know, for the grading of the south part of the road, you will need to have the borrow materials that you're going to get that from the north part. I am correct?
Yep. Yeah. Typically, we try to kind of balance the fill and the cut, so that the stuff that we take out of the north side, take out of the hill, we can put in the south side to grade that up to fill that.
So, one of the concerns that talking to some of the neighbors is that in doing that, we are going to excavate more in the north part to bring some of the borrow material to the south for the grading. But we have to do it because we have to level up the road. I am correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's several options. They all have kind of varying costs. So, you know, if we did do a retaining wall, for example, you wouldn't have that kind of cut, that extra dirt that we could take from the north side and move it down. So we'd have to truck in potentially dirt for the south side. So there's kind of a few different options there, but yeah, typically we would like to try to balance that so we don't have to either you know, remove dirt from our project site, which costs money, or bring in new fill material.
Okay. So other question is for the multipath, okay, for the, so does that path have to be like right, or can we do like, you know, around the tree or around some of the tree that we don't want to remove? Can we do that, or we had to go, you know, how can I say, you know, straight, you know, ahead, and remove everything that is in front of that bike path, or we can, you know, how can I say?
Curve the road.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option, and certainly something that, you know, once we kind of get a more firm grasp of what road segment we want to design, you know, certainly I think maybe you're referring to the kind of eastern portion where we have a little bit more flexibility outside the hill, but there's definitely some older growth trees there. That's definitely an option for us to try to look at saving some of those trees. I think it depends on, it's not just the horizontal alignment, but also the vertical alignment on, you know, where we're at kind of with the existing elevation of the roadway and kind of what we have to do from a grading perspective. But yeah, I would definitely say that that's an option for us to look at.
Okay.
And we don't have to just keep it straight and, you know, against the roadway.
Okay. Other question is, how many trees are going to be removed? Do you have an idea? Because there are some people saying that it's going to be more than 300 trees, or so. Do we have any idea how many trees we are talking about?
I believe the latest that we asked our consultant to perform a tree survey. She went out and measured any tree 30 feet from the existing roadway. And so with that initial tree survey, we had about 112, I believe, trees counted, of which I believe about 41 were deemed kind of high value. So we anticipate certainly many more trees in the quarry area, out, so north of the roadway, outside of that initial 30 feet, but still within the grading limits that we have proposed. I don't know where the 300 number came from.
So on the other one is more like a comment is, because we receive a lot of email, and my question is, some of the email are confusing because some of the email people say we need to stop this development, and some people talk about the impact in the environmental area, how to protect that, and how to reduce the price for the road. But the question is, people are, the neighbors are asking for 4 more weeks to sit with the staff and look for another compromise. I see the city already compromised from the original, and there is some room for more compromising. The question is, what is the end game at the end of this? We have 4 weeks. What we are gonna do in those 4 weeks? Because the road, we need to improve the road. You can call it reconstruction, improvement, for safety reasons, for many things. But what are the 2 or 3 things that we are going to accomplish? So when we come here in 1 month, we say, okay, that's it. We reach a compromise. We have some idea. We need to vote, because otherwise we are going to delay this project for another year. I am okay to delay in this thing, but I want to be clear that what we are going to accomplish in the next 4 weeks and what is going to come to us, and that is going to be, the road is coming, but what else we are going to try to compromise? I don't know.
All right, thank you. I got Shannon and Gabrielle after that. Go ahead, Shannon.
Okay, so I know we get a lot of kind of flooding in that area. Have we kind of looked at anything, how it's going to affect the drainage? Because that's quite a bit of surface area that, that is going to be taken over. So I was just kind of wondering, has there been any kind of looking into that?
Yeah, definitely. And so, there's some ongoing studies for Goose Lake, for Fitchburg Road, similarly for the Kettle. All that being said, so the runoff that we generate in kind of compliance with the North Center Prairie neighborhood plan, we're infiltrating 100% of that in an east detention basin. So at the top of the hill, all the water, additional runoff that we generate from this project would run east into that basin, and everything west would run into a basin kind of the southeast corner of Fitchburg Road and Lacey Road. South of the current properties there. And so we have those 2 kind of stormwater facilities to both treat, for rate control and to treat suspended solids. So those are certainly, part of our design project and part of our cost estimate that we're including in these documents.
Good. Gabriella.
So I want to go back to the issue of trees, because it's become clear to me through conversation here and in and Transportation Transit Committee that this project is going to lead to loss of trees. It's just a matter of how many, which is why a lot of residents are bringing up this issue about what this cross-section looks like. You talk about the design standards that you have, the engineering design standards that you have. You talk about, I've heard the bike and pedestrian plan being referenced. The neighborhood plans are referenced. In terms of protecting trees, what is your criteria for how to make those decisions? Because the Tree Advisory Committee is currently working on a tree protection ordinance. We don't have one in place. So there's no, aside from what's in the comp plan, which Ms. Easterday pointed out, is, we say we value trees in the comp plan, but there is no specific plan that I think you have to work off of, which is really unfortunate in terms of a project like this. So I'm curious just like how you go about making those decisions. Is that something you work with a firm that you're working with? Do you talk to the forester? Can we go back and like look at really small decisions that would like make a difference between saving a tree and not saving a tree? I just don't know how that decision would be made if we don't have an ordinance in place that protects the trees.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so I mean, I guess one of the goals of the project is to minimize grading impacts and tree loss. So it's certainly something we're trying to work towards. I'll note, yeah, you're right. There's kind of no requirement, and you know, in other jurisdictions, you know, you might have something like that, or you know, kind of a cost associated with each tree we remove. We're trying to maintain kind of a net balance. I'll note that, you know, unfortunately, the way this corridor is, and kind of I guess specifically at the quarry entrance and kind of on the hill where we have a lot of trees, you know, touching it to modern design standards we're going to lose a lot of trees. You know, even if we can build a retaining wall, some of that, you know, depending upon the type, that might require cutting into a lot of that to kind of rebuild the retaining wall using, you know, borrowed soil that's you know, more structurally sound. So I think, unfortunately, you know, this isn't just a resurfacing project; it's a reconstruction. We're trying to make this a better street. I think touching it, unfortunately, you know, means that we're going to be disturbing the slopes on either side, and that means that we're going to be losing a lot of trees. I think to the extent that we can keep a small cross section and think creatively about what we do with retaining walls or slopes, and you know, we're working through that with design. I think I guess that's the goal, to try to minimize as much as possible. Right now, we're projecting to put something like 270 street trees with 40-foot spacing. I know that those are young trees, and they are in no means a direct replacement for the trees we're losing or the habitat we're losing. But we're trying to kind of keep, to some degree, some balance to the extent that we can, knowing that we're going to have tree loss no matter what we do.
I know the question has been asked by a lot of residents and some people up here about delaying, and we can delay. We don't have to make a decision tonight. You know, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, you know, either of those, that we should be fine if we delay it either way. But at some point, we do need to make a decision, because, you know, one of the things people are concerned about is cost. And the longer we push it off, the more costly it's going to get. Because right now, we're trying to go to bid in November. And if we wait a month, we should be able to still do that. If it's pushed beyond that, then we're probably looking at January. And then you start bidding against state projects and a lot of other things, and we're not going to get as good of a bid. So that's going to increase the cost. So, you know, with cost as a concern, which I've heard a lot from residents, there is some value in making a decision in the next month, especially in cost. I think another thing some people up here have spoken about, which I think not enough maybe attention has been paid to, is the safety component. You know, some people have talked about these are already 10-foot lanes instead of 11-foot. And there's a lot of other safety concerns. And people talked about a little bit with bike lanes and things like that. But I think the safety component, I mean, this road isn't safe right now, and we need to make it safer. And so, you know, just think about that over the next 2 weeks, month, whatever that is. You know, I know I even heard someone say we should just repave it. At some point, we're going to have to redo the road. And if we just repaved it right now, we're going to have to redo the road in 10 years, and at that point, we can't use the TID to help pay for this, and then it's directly on the taxpayers at that point in time, because it's too late to use the TID, and the TID is paying for a significant piece of that. Indirectly, it helps the taxpayers, of course, but it's not off the levy. And I think, you know, what's important to think about just the road itself and trying to get something that is right. I don't know what additional information we're going to get in the next month, but you know, at some point we do need to make that decision. And so I think it's important to just think about all those pieces over the next 2 weeks or month or whatever that is. But ultimately, you know, redoing this all in 10 years isn't what we want to do. We want to get done and done right. So Jim, go ahead.
Okay. And I agree with a lot that's been said today. But, you know, where I'm coming from is that I think there's a lot of information that has been put out today. And also, when I did research on this, there are plans out there. One that goes back to 2002, another that goes to 2004, that actually lays out the planning process for the city, and especially when it deals with transportation. And I like looking at those plans. should look at those plans because it lays out the methodology of what the existing land use was, what the future land use was, and what the transportation network that was needed to actually support this. And I just want to let people know that a lot of this stuff wasn't done in a vacuum. You know, a lot of this stuff has been in the plans for a long time. And I would like to give people the opportunity to actually go to the website. It's not a big secret. That information is out there so that they can see what information actually went into so that we can make a good decision. And I think Julia brings up a good point. We have to move this project on. And, you know, what do we get out of another 4 weeks? I think we get to build some trust with the community by letting them just have a little bit more of a discussion so that we can get more information. There's a lot of information that I actually learned tonight that I didn't know. And I think there's more information when you look at the transportation plan for the city and you look at the city as a whole and you see what's going out towards the west and you see everything that's going to be developed, as Joe asked. I mean, we really got to think about these roads in a manner that is going to take us into the next 20, 30 years. And I do think that we can wait some time just so we can get information, just so we can have the input from the community. Because to be honest with you, I am really concerned about the safety of that road. And every time we talk about narrowing the road, you know, I'm like, okay, what are we going to do about, you know, accidents? You know, I was in law enforcement for 27 years. I was the supervisor for forensic services. We investigated homicides, fatal accidents. So I've seen the bodies get cut out of vehicles. I've seen at autopsies, you know, people laying on the table. I've seen an officer who was basically on the road and got rear-ended by someone because, I mean, he was just making a traffic stop. So I would like to hear more about that and hear some of those concerns. So I do believe that we can make this happen, listen to the community, get a little bit more information so that we can make a good decision and give the community the opportunity to go onto the website and look at all those things that are out there that shows that we are very transparent.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Jim, for that insight. My only question is, you know, within that 4 weeks, what will the process look like of collecting information, getting input? Because to me, it just sounds like a lot of the folks that weigh in are pretty educated and informed on the issue. So I'm wondering what additional knowledge are we going to gain from the next 4 weeks, and how will that information be gained and disseminated and understood? You know, just so that we're really clear on that before the council makes a vote.
Andrew, do you want to speak to that? And then I have Dave and Julia.
Sure. I can, and I know Dave had his hand up, so I'll also feel free to jump in. So certainly the tree survey, we'll be getting that in the next couple of weeks. I'll note that there's, you know, we're not talking about huge differences between any of these cross sections. So from the cross section decision, I'm not anticipating significant changes in the tree loss, depending upon what we choose. That being said, we'll definitely have that information in the next 4 weeks. The other thing is we'll be looking into type and cost for retaining wall. Again, not directly related to cross section, but certainly you know, something we'll need to know, you know, sooner than later about this project before it moves to TPP. And then we also have kind of a few other, you know, like guardrail costs and kind of some other kind of questions that have been raised by the ad hoc group that haven't been able to address yet. But, you know, they're kind of smaller in nature. So I would say the two biggest things are the cost of the retaining wall and that tree survey, expanded tree survey.
I'm going to just jump in here, Dave. Sorry, before I go to you. Andrew, just with the tree survey, someone asked this question, and I wanted to repeat it. With the tree survey, what exactly additional is like, how would that change our decision? Because it seems to me that we've reduced a little bit of the impact already, and we're not going to make the road smaller at this point, because then it's just not doing the road, and that's not an option. And I don't think that, we've done a preliminary survey, I don't think there's some like super rare tree that we would work around and not cut down out there. I don't know, like, there's a certain amount of trees that are unfortunately gonna have to come down regardless. And can you just speak to what additional information that tree survey is gonna provide that's gonna be useful, I guess, and helpful?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think the only thing that it might be able to offer is if we felt that there aren't any high, in that kind of additional between the 30 feet from the existing roadway and that full extent of the grading limits, if there aren't any more high value trees in there, which I doubt, you could potentially make the argument of, well, we don't need to reduce the street width anymore, and let's just go with the February 17th proposal. That being said, yeah, I don't anticipate, I anticipate as the same percentage as what we found within 30 feet, and that we'll likely have some, and that we'll likely just know what our full impact will be, but that we won't really know or have any greater sense of differential impact between these different cross sections.
Okay, thank you. Dave, go ahead.
Noting that, the typical difference between the two grading limits is something like 10 feet. And so, and it can be as small as 2 feet or on top of each other. So I'm not anticipating a whole lot of difference, but we won't know exactly that until we get that full survey.
Okay. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
Okay. Andrew echoed a lot of what I was going to say. We're looking at a retaining wall over the hill to minimize the tree loss. Now, Bill has talked about if we have to driven sheet piling, it's really expensive. We need to find out what the cost would be for that retaining wall, and that would save trees. But if, I can't spend $1 million or retaining wall to save 100 trees, we're going to have a subdivision down there, that's going to have far more trees in the future. We have to be realistic about it too. I want to save as many as we can, but we have to look at those two costs, that retaining wall, compare that against the savings in trees, and then we have a decision we can make looking at number, dollars, and trees, and so that's kind of what I'm waiting for. And then I think once we look at those, we can make the recommendation, and I believe that can easily be done in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm putting the onus obviously on Bill and Andrew to come up with those costs, but it ultimately will come down to that, I feel. Thank you.
All right, Julia.
So I was planning to say something similar to what they mentioned about the retaining walls, that yes, it's going to be a very expensive, to build a retaining wall. I remember from previous conversation in other projects in the cities. So that one is one, but we need to see the numbers. And then the other thing I want to mention is I know that some people are very concerned that we are losing the rural aspect of this road. I see this road as a transition road. We are transitioning from a rural road to more like an urban-like. But we are building this road for the next 30, 50 years. And I know that is, yes, it's going to be a change, but I see this lazy road a transitional road right now. It's converting from a rural to more like an urban-like in the next couple of years, 10 years, 20 years. So, and I think we are putting the foundation for the growth that is coming in that area. It's not going to come next year or in 2 years, but this growth is coming in the next 10 years, and we need to be prepared, and we need to put that foundation. The other thing I want to emphasize is the sooner that we put this road in the T, like the mayor mentioned, the tax incremental district, the better. So we have more years to pay for the road. The T has more years to pay for the road and to build the increment on the road to pay for that road. But I want to, I don't have any problem to to delay for 4 more weeks or 2 weeks or whatever is the decision that we are going to decide, but we need to, in a month, I need to vote for the road. And I want a better road for several reasons. I have driven that road many times because taking my kid to play soccer in Verona. I drove this winter and it was very scary. I think we need to do it. So I think we can work as a compromise, but I hope in the next timetable, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, we can do it. So I am fine with that, but we cannot delay this project anymore.
One thing I wanted to mention to Andrew is if we can consider permeable surfaces for the multi-use path, I would appreciate if that could be considered. I don't know at what point we need to take a look at that, but I would say that would be nice considering the stormwater issues in the area. And then second, I just want to make a statement that, it sounds like it's pretty clear consensus that we're going to move this 4 weeks down the road, but I just want people to understand, the people that are paying attention to this issue, that I don't think that means that the next step is that this road gets narrower. I think if anything, the road's going to get wider. So I just think that people should understand that that's the impact of this moving forward, and I don't want people to be surprised that if we look at this 4 weeks and then we add buffered bike lanes or whatever might happen. I just think people need to be prepared for that, because it sounds like a lot of people are wanting a narrower road with less tree loss, and I just don't think that that's going to happen in 4 weeks. And honestly, the more I look at this, it hurts my heart to think about all the trees that are going to be lost, and I'd hate it. But a lot of decisions over decades led to this road needing to be redone, and we can make some compromises, but there's going to be a lot of tree loss. And it's taken me a few weeks to get that wrap my head around it, and I think everyone in the public should be thinking about that before we get to 4 weeks and not be surprised when things don't necessarily go the way you want 4 weeks from now.
I just got one question before I go to Randy and then Jim. Andrew, we talked about, delaying this 2 weeks, 4 weeks. Do you have a preference? I mean, do you need 4 weeks to get everything done? Do you think you can do it in 2 weeks? I just want to provide a little bit of guidance, I guess, to the council members as they look to, it sounds like we're postponing it. Is it 2 weeks, we can get everything, or really 4 weeks just to make sure you have everything? And if you don't want to answer that, that's okay.
I think our preference would be 2 weeks. I believe that the tree survey is being conducted either last week or this week, so I think we should have results from that. And the design team is underway looking at those retaining wall options. So I think 2 weeks will be sufficient, and that will kind of give us 2 more weeks of play in our schedule should any other unforeseen hurdles come up.
Randy, go ahead.
Yes, I think my colleagues have raised a number of good points. The residents have raised a number of good points. I've had lots of conversation with the residents of District 4 and beyond. Just in some of the emails I've received, though, I get the distinct impression that this is just new information. It's not new information. It has been around for a while. I think, Jim, you pointed it out. But there's just some unanswered questions, and I think that 4 weeks is necessary to address the environment, to make sure that we're transparent with the residents. After 4 weeks, we run into some big problems. As a former engineer, I fully understand timelines. And if we miss those timelines, then we're not fiscally responsible to the citizens of Fitchburg. So let's look at this wisely in the next 4 weeks and make some wise decisions. Thank you.
All right, we got Jim and then Jay after that.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out some information that I got from the department. I asked, police department, I asked for the number of accidents that occurred from 2018 to 2021, just from Seminole Highway to Fitzroy Road. And just the way the road is right now, we're looking at 15 accidents with 28 vehicles involved and 33 people involved and 6 injuries. And that's just with the road as it is right now. And you just imagine as that traffic picks up, we are talking about this road needs to be done. and it needs to be a lot safer. So, and I don't know if anybody has driven that road when it was snowing, but I have seen people off that road. A friend of mine actually went off the road, hit a tree, totaled the car, basically was okay, but you can only go down that road. And when you see where Andrew talks about having room to veer off and everything, you'd go from Fitzrona Road to Fitzrona to Seminole, and you just look to the right. If you have to swerve to actually miss something, you're in that ditch, and you're not. You can't get that car back out without a tow truck. So I just wanted to add that a little bit of data there.
So if the road doesn't take it out, a car will.
Well, I don't think anybody is doubting or questioning the fact that the road in its current configuration is dangerous. As a stretch of road, it's probably one of the 3 or 4 most dangerous chunks of road in Fitchburg, just because of the visibility issues. Sometimes in the wintertime, as you pointed out, when the wind comes blowing across, you get some major drifting on that road. It's not good as it is. And right now, it doesn't have a lot of traffic. But over the next 10 years, we're looking at a huge increase in the amount of traffic. So I do think something needs to be done. I agree with Randy that I don't think 2 weeks is enough. I think we need I think these people made an effort to come out here and listen to this and be a part of this process. And they deserve to have everything that they need to have said, heard, and incorporated as much as possible. So I think one of the things Fitchburg has been criticized a lot for over the years is not having adequate public input into projects, and this is the time to do this. And we've got a little time. So let's take the time, let's make sure we get things done as best we can. You had asked the question, Mr. Mayor, about what new information might come out of a tree survey. The way I'm looking at it is, Andrew said that there might be 140 or so trees that are lost. Now, I've been in Fitchburg a long time, so have you, so have many of the people sitting out here. And we've seen farmland disappear at an astounding rate. We've seen a lot of trees cut down. It's part of being a fast-growing city. Some of those trees are big oak trees. Some of those trees are box elder trees. So I think what a tree survey will tell us is, first of all, what is it that we're actually talking about? Now, Andrew said there were probably 40, he used the number 41, said there were 41 trees of significant value. I don't know what that means. I don't know if we're talking about 40-year-old maple trees, or I presume there's not any century oaks in there, but I don't know. We don't know. So I think one of the things that we're keeping in mind is we're not building this road for the next 5 or 10 years. We're building this road for 50 years. I mean, the blueprint we put down now is going to be here for a long time. This is, yes, the road will be reconstructed from time to time, but once development starts happening there, it's not likely that the city's going to go and start taking more land, which would incorporate taking more buildings. So what we're putting there right now is going to be there for a long time. And if we're going to put in 270 trees like the plan says, the tree survey might help us identify what kinds of trees we should be putting back in. So, because again, 5 years from now, obviously when we put these trees in, they're going to be small trees. They're going to be 2-inch trees. Maybe we'll throw a few 4-inch trees in, but those start to get expensive. But over the next 40 or 50 years, we'll have a better, depending on what we put in now, that will determine what it looks like then. And granted, probably none of us will be sitting here 50 years from now, but at least we'll be leaving something for those future generations that they can say, the people back then, they made a good decision. So this is the time for us to make a good decision.
Jim, do you want to make a motion to postpone? I don't have anyone else on my list.
Sure.
Do I need to rescind my motion, or?
No, we can just
Okay.
move to postpone for a month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever you want to do.
Right.
It's up to you.
I make a motion that we refer.
We postpone.
Postpone Resolution R61-21 to the May 25th council meeting.
To May 25th.
Second.
All right, seconded by Jay. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of delaying, or postponing, I should say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that is postponed for a month. All right, back to the next transportation transit. Gabriella, you're still up?
Yeah, just give me a second to get the next one up. I move approval of Resolution R 6221, approving revision 1 to state municipal agreement for CTHMM and McCoy Road.
Seconded by
Second that
Julia.
motion.
Did Transportation Transit approve?
Yes.
Did Public Works approve? Dave, did Public Works approve?
Give me 1 sec.
Just yes or no is good. All right.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes, we did.
I can come back to you.
Yes, we did.
Yes, okay. Did Finance approve?
Finance approved.
All right, and what's this one about?
This is basically, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation is requesting an update since they're paying for a significant portion, and there have been updates to the project. For reference, our project costs, but what's predicted is still below what has been budgeted for this project.
Great. Make it a lot safer for everyone involved. Make it a lot safer for everyone involved.
Yeah, but this is just a kind of a formality that's necessary because of our partnership with the state on this project.
All right, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Anything else?
We talked a little bit more about the Metro partnership, and there'll be more of that forthcoming. I think if anyone is interested, we do have a Metro Transit Fitchburg survey up on the website. So if you use transit, you'd like to use transit, you have opinions about transit, I would encourage you to go on and fill that out, ideally in the next few days, because we were hoping to get a lot of the feedback over the next few days. So if you search Fitchburg Transit Survey, Fitchburg, Wisconsin Transit Survey on Google, you should find it pretty easily, and I'd encourage you to seek that out if public transit is important to you. That's all.
All right, thank you. Sita, Julia?
Yes, so we met on April 12th, and we have a couple of guests, people from Destination Madison and the Madison Area Sport Commission did a presentation. They always come every year to do the presentation because they are partners with us. So it was very interesting because they talk about, they give us an update of what happened with all the sport activity and events and hotel last year in 2020. And one of the things that I remember from that presentation is that the hotel in the Madison area are gonna reach the pre-COVID level maybe around in 2023, isn't it? Yeah. So that one was scary, but they are optimistic that some of the events are coming back to the region. Also, we have another presentation from Parbank about how they, what it was the response to the pandemic to the small business, and also the opening of the new branches
In July?
July.
June
Yeah.
and July.
Mm-hmm. So everyone is going to be invited, so stay tuned. And then our Director of Economic Development did an update of what is happening in the city, from development to the subcommittees. And we choose the new officers. My term was up because I was chair for 2 terms, and I cannot do it anymore. So the new chair for CIDA is Andy Pott, and the vice chair is Jennifer Clary. So that's it for now.
All right, Ag and Rural Affairs, Randy.
We have not met, nothing to report.
All right, EMS, Shannon.
Report.
All right, Bike Committee, Joe.
Sure. Got a couple things. So May is Bike Month. There is I think Bike Fitchburg is participating in a national sort of Bike Month challenge along with Love to Ride Madison. You can join, create a team, join a group, ride solo. It's open to anybody. You ride for just 10 minutes to earn points. You can get sign up for prizes and join a virtual community. You can register at lovetoride.net/Madison. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm going to call on Bill to help me clarify this because it's a little bit hard to explain, but Bill, can you clarify the Facebook post that Andy Potts brought to our attention about the detours on Fish Hatchery Road?
Yeah, we did increase the signage in that area. We put up some changeable message signs. Ideally, we would like, people to not cross there at Fish Hatchery Road, but and to use an alternate detour route. But if you do have to cross there, we did put up the additional signs. By the end of the week, we will have the path gravelled in from Glacial Valley to the Cap City Trail again. So that will be put back in by the end of the week. It'll be gravel, but at least you won't have to cross the road anymore if you need to get over to the other side of the trail.
Thanks, Bill. And then the next bike committee meeting is June 1st.
All right, tree advisory.
No report.
All right, landmarks preservation, Shannon? No report. All right, housing advisory, Joe. I think you're housing now, aren't you?
We haven't been a part of the committee long enough to have any updates.
All right, healthy neighborhoods, Jay? All right, and then Stoner Prairie Park Plan. Oh, sorry, Mike, you have an update?
Sorry, can I just add one update from the Housing Advisory Committee?
Sure.
There's a survey that's gone out from H&A Advisors. They're the ones that are working on our Housing Endowment Pilot Program. And you should, as council members, should have received that survey. It came out on April 23rd. If you haven't received it, you might want to look at your spam or junk folder there to retrieve that. So we just would like to encourage you to participate in that.
Yeah, I know it's in my junk folder.
Yep.
All right, Stoner Prairie Park Plan, Randy?
Yeah, we met for the first time last Wednesday, April 21st. Discussed a number of items, base maps, 2015-2020 parks, open space and recreation plan review. Discussed the Stoner Prairie neighborhood survey review, Crescent Crossing concept, the concept itself, the park plans. We even reviewed the budget and timeline format and the review for the ad hoc committee. And then we held elections for committee co-chairs. And they decided upon 3 co-chairs, and those 3 individuals will be Sue Esterday, Janelle Rice, and Sachin Tully. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, going on to finance. That's you as well.
Yes, right. Finance Committee approval of bills, specifically detailed review of all city checks issued, checks 122022 through 122060, April 1st through the 15th, 2021, totaling $402,253.90.
All right, thank you. Personnel, Julia?
Meeting on May 12th.
All right, anything with public safety? I forget who's the chair of public safety. Randy, who's the chair of public safety? Dave. Oh, Dave, anything for public safety? No? All right. All right, Mayor and Alder reports. For new alders, this is just an opportunity to talk about things happening in your district. I've got a few things. First, in the summer, we always cancel one council meeting. Just a way if you're planning vacations and stuff. If you can plan around those, great. But I know it gives staff a break as well. And we've done that in the last couple of years. The first meeting in July we'll cancel. So if you want to partner that with 4th of July, that works well. The first meeting of the month is generally a slower agenda anyway. So just FYI, so you know, we're going to cancel that one. And then also, let me know, I'm hoping next week, or next meeting in like 2 weeks, everyone would be willing to come in and do a group picture before the meeting. We can do it outside, actually.
and have that. So in 2 weeks, if you're going to be here, if you can make it, let me know. Send me a text, send me an email. If you can't, we can look at a different time. We didn't get to do that last year with COVID, and I'd like to get back to doing that. Please dress nicely for that photo, and we'll do that group photo in 2 weeks. I'll try and remember to send an email to everyone reminding them, but if you can't make it and you're going to be gone, we can push it back further if necessary. Otherwise, the CIP process has already started, sadly enough. We could jump into it right away. It's a long process, but I heard from staff. Now I'm working with Misty to try and cut a bunch of money from it, as usual. I can tell you right now, it's going to be, as always, a tough budget. And then last thing is tomorrow at noon, I'm doing an update for the Fitchburg Chamber. So if you want to watch that or join that, you're welcome to. But thank you, Mike and Joyce, for the help in getting all that information together. All right. So going to Alder reports, I can start in District 1. And Joel, do you want to go first?
Sure. On May 15th, there will be a bike rodeo in Allied Park. Fitchburg, City of Fitchburg is actually one of the sponsors. It's going to be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. If folks don't know what a bike rodeo is, it's essentially a way to provide education on how to ride safely. It's aimed at kids in particular. There will be free bike repairs, free helmets, riding practice courses, learn to ride classes. Please wear a mask. Waivers will be required. You must wear closed-toe shoes to participate. And this is actually right across the border in Madison. It's on 2370 Revival Ridge in Allied Park. And that's all I've got for now.
All right, Dave, anything for you?
Yes, tomorrow's the first meeting of the community garden in Jamestown, Eagle Park. We have 11 people, and not much is going on. We're collecting the money, and we'll probably be having a day to help work a little bit, but the city has it tilled up and the site's divided. It looks very nice. We're anxious to get started. Joe, do you recall the date the Allied Drive Duns Marsh neighborhood was having that kind of event in June? Was it Saturday, June 4th? Does that sound right, Joe?
Yes, I can go back and look for it, but I don't have it off the top of my head right now.
I think it was Saturday, June 4th, and they're counting on the mayor there to be in the dunk tank, is what I've been told.
You're going to get a lot of money for that. All right.
That's all I had.
They want to dunk us too.
Yeah, both Joe and I. Joe said he's gonna get his wife in there though also, so. That's all I had.
All right, thanks. Julia.
Okay, first of all, I want to say thank you to the resident of District 2 for giving me the opportunity to serve for 2 more years. And the other thing I want to mention is Gabriel and I, we met with a prospect that they're looking to build in one of the empty lot. So there's going to be a neighborhood meeting May 13. So we are planning to, they're going to send an invitation, but also we were planning to, Gabriel and I, to be in the meeting. And if any of you wants to be in the meeting, let me know. We can send you the invite. So that's it. I don't know, Gabriela, if I forgot to say something.
Yeah, and just I guess to piggyback off that, the meeting's going to be in McKee Farms Park. It's going to be about the lots that are basically, they're part, some people think it's a part of McKee Farms Park, but it's actually private lots, lots 53 and 54, that are adjacent to the park. So it's going to be in McKee Farms Park Thursday, May 13th, 5:30 p.m. That's the plan. But please reach out if you want more information. Both Alder Rutherford and I both know the details. I think a lot of people will be interested in that project, so don't miss it if that matters to you. And then just a small note from me. I had fun voting in the Madison Magazine Best of competition, and that goes through the end of April, and a lot of Fitchburg businesses are in there. Like a lot of the ones that you know, Eliana's, Quivvy's Grove, Tapatio's, Cosa Boutique. So if you're interested and you want to kind of check it out, give some love to the Fitchburg businesses, because I know that they can use it, and we have some extraordinary businesses that have weathered the storm of COVID, and hope that they continue to do so. So show them some love.
Sure.
So I think Liliana Restaurant is going to open the patio soon. So, so for all of you that are missing to be outside, stay tuned.
Right.
That's it.
Jay.
Yeah, I've gotten a number of emails over the last couple of months, and running for city council again is always fun. And there were people who asked some questions, so I just wanted to go through a few things here. I've had a long history in the city. I was on the city council for 16 years. I was the mayor for 2 years. And in addition to that, I was a founding member of the Chamber of Commerce. I've donated money to all kinds of things in the city, including the fund for the police dog, the first police dog we had, Spark for the Fitchburg Library, Kids Crossing, stuff with the Recreation Department, including the Enchanted Forest we used to have. Friends of the Fitchburg Library, I volunteered for a number of events they've done, Fitchburg Senior Center, the Splash Pad, and of course Fitchburg Days, as well as Earth Day cleanups that have happened in the city for many years. I think since I moved to the city, I think I was just doing some back of the napkin calculations, but I think it's been somewhere in the area of $100,000 that I or one of my companies has donated to different things in this city over that period of time, as well as probably close to 10,000 hours outside of council meetings, outside of meetings for committees I've been on, but just with other things that I volunteered for. So it was with great interest that I received forwarded to me by several different people in the district an email that came from the mayor. And the mayor, among other things, said, if you've been around for a while, you know Jay Allen, and you know he is not a good representation of Fitchburg. We don't need to go backward with him. And then the mayor went on to detail how he had talked to the other two people running for this seat, of course, not talking to me.
I'm happy to talk about more outside of this, Jay, anytime.
That'd be great. I would love to have that conversation. I would have loved to have that conversation before you sent this email out. And I think one of the things that I really wanted to point out today is that when any of us write stuff down like this, when any of us say things, that becomes part of a public record. And it's not necessarily a subpoenable public record, but it's certainly something that's going to go out there. And before you write things like this, you should think about what the reaction might be if it ends up on the front page of the newspaper, because that's happened to people on this council or to previous mayors. So I think it's important to be more careful about how you say things like this. And if you're going to make a comment like this, the best thing to do, as I have suggested both to you and to other people, is make a phone call. I mean, I am the easiest person in Fitchburg to find. If you Google my name, my phone number comes up, multiple phone numbers come up, multiple email addresses. Nobody ever has any trouble finding me if you have something to say.
All right. Shannon, go ahead.
Nothing to report.
All right. Jim?
I have nothing to report.
All right. Randy?
Nothing to report.
All right. All right. Next, we got the director referral, and I don't know if someone wants to move to approve this. They can do that.
Second.
All right. Moved by Jay, second by Gabriella. We don't have to go into closed session, but we can. I know if there's anything that you want to talk about that you don't want to talk about publicly, then we can go in closed session. But it's up to you. If someone wants to move into closed session, we can. Otherwise, we can just discuss it as well. Does anyone have an urgent need to go into closed session? I'm seeing some head shakes. All right. Then we are not going to go into closed session, but can move into discussion and possible action on the agreement with the city administrator. Any comments, questions? Nothing? All right. Then
thanks for being here anyway, Valerie.
My pleasure.
I guess we'll go right, I'm gonna wait a second because Julia just went to the restroom, I think. All right, Gabriella.
Is there any information about start dates or that you could share?
Yeah, actually, I can also tell you, we did do a background check, and we got that in yesterday, and there was no concerns or anything like that, as you might have guessed.
Who did that
But,
background check?
we had an outside company do it, and, it was, obviously, we didn't expect to see anything, but I think it, and even requested by Chad to treat him just like someone that we don't know, and, don't make it look like we're playing favorites or anything like that, just because we know him and respect him and have worked with him in the past. So we did have an outside group do that, and there's obviously, as you might imagine, no concerns or anything like that that came from that. Talking with staff and with Chad about start date, he has a family vacation at the end of June, and so it didn't make a whole lot of sense to maybe have him start right before that and then go on vacation. And then it's 4th of July. And also, to make it easier for Misty in finance, we didn't want to have him start in the middle of a pay period. So July 12th is the official date, though I imagine that, oh, hi, Misty, just for you. Just for, timing and to make things easier for staff. I'm sure that he's going to be doing stuff way before July 12th, knowing Chad, but that's the official start date. So.
And then, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead again. Yep.
Are we going to talk about a process, or is there going to be any public information about what the process for replacing him as police chief will be, or is that something we'll figure out at a later date?
So the Police and Fire Commission are going to be doing that. They are meeting next month, I believe, to post that position, and they'll, figure out the interim chief during that time period. I believe that Sarah said September or October they're hoping that person would start. It's going to be a very thorough process. Is it October?
I think September, she said.
September, okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully September. We'll see how long it takes, but they're going to actually get started right away on that process as well. They do the hiring and firing. Hopefully they ask us for at least input or let us meet the finalists type of a thing. But I imagine that's going to be a very inclusive public process, much like the city administrator was. So, Julia.
I have a question in the contract. This is for Valerie. On page 7, section B, there is something new that you add compared to the previous city administration contract. That one is a new section or new language.
So, Willie, are you referring to the language about the notice for leave and then for termination by the administrator? And
termination by the administrator and yes, the item A and B. Those are not new?
That is new, yes, and that was negotiated with Chad and his attorney. And in essence, what it does is it provides for a 60-day notice that the administrator would be required to provide. If he fails to provide that, the city would be entitled to liquidated damages, which is another way of saying like that's his penalty, right? So if he provided less than 30 days notice, then that penalty would be 4 weeks of his salary that he would owe back to the city. If he provides between 30 and 60 days, then it would be 2 weeks of his gross salary. The purpose of that section ultimately is to provide incentive for the administrator to give as much notice as possible. Obviously, the city has an interest in having as much notice as possible. It's not a position that we could recruit for and replace very quickly. And so in working with our administrative team, we determined that this worked for the city. Hopefully the council agrees.
Anything else?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a, in the benefit, I don't remember, something about bonus, and I didn't understand. It was 3.17. Do you know where is that, Misty?
Yep, that's the longevity bonus. So that's something that's currently under the handbook. And
yeah. So
that is currently entitled to. So basically just acknowledging that he would continue to be eligible for that program even when he's switching these positions.
Oh, okay.
I know there's a
And
few other
may
small.
add, if I just might add, throughout the contract, we did tailor this contract to reflect that this is an internal applicant that is ultimately accepting this position. And so throughout the contract, you'll see reference to credit for prior years of service with the city for purposes of calculation of sick time, vacation, accrual,
Oh,
et cetera. And so longevity bonus is just one of those items that we added to reflect his tenure with the city.
Oh, okay. I will not.
Anything else?
Not that I remember.
All right. All right, then seeing nothing else, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor of approving the agreement with the new city administrator, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Tomorrow, committee of the whole meeting here online, and then it's really a lot of just kind of onboarding type stuff. Anything, Randy, you want to talk about specifically or before that? Okay.
I don't believe so at this point.
All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The presentation about, there is a presentation about, what is,
About the harassment.
yeah,
and
that one is gonna be the same presentation that we
very
had.
similar to the one we had a couple months ago. Yeah, since we have some new people now, and this is
Okay.
what I want to start doing at this meeting every year.
Okay, no, I know, but it's the same.
Yeah. Yep. Same.
So
same
if we,
content,
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Seeing nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Jay,
Second.
seconded by Shannon. I think I heard first. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, we are adjourned.